And when the culture and when the traditions say that every man, every woman, every child must confess their own, you can't put the obligation of confessing your own on another. It is your own responsibility. However, it is our duty, brothers and sisters, to come to each other's aid
That's
when
true.
one's in adversity. It is not your responsibility to carry their cross. This is not the age of carrying any crosses for anyone. This is the age for all men and women and even the children, because the book say even the children to confess their own. So age don't even matter. If you get the point, you can't even make the excuse that you didn't know. Or now this comes back to consciousness. And so those who are spiritually in tune and harmonic with coming out of the three-dimensional energies and going into higher dimensions or higher planes of life, they will recognize the truth as their own. Those who have not will not and will reject the truth and get angry at those who speak the truth. And if I have told a lie, identify that lie. If you have not identified that lie, you should sit back and stop interrupting with the progress of people who are helping to remedy or to bring remedy in consciousness to the people to reject the schisms that many of you are still operating in.
No, like I said, I totally understand the pain.
The pain
loss.
Does not justify fraud.
Yeah, I understand the pain. You know, I've lost a child who was transitioned.
Hand.
No, it was to their hands.
Don't ever suspect that it wasn't a
right.
attack.
So I know the pain.
Yes.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, I think I need my sister to redirect her anger, because we all feel it. We all want her baby to be back in her arms, but we all can't necessarily make it happen.
Around the country who have the same issues.
True.
It's not. Remember, none of us stand alone with this. There's many people around the country who have the exact same issue. Now, here we go with the issues of nations of the earth coming together and dealing with conventions. So write this down, those of you who are listening. The conventions on genocide, and read it. Also, the rights of indigenous people, and read it and act on it. Meaning that you can show people certain information, certain facts, but if they don't accept them, they have the right not to accept them. But that's still called free willism. Where everything that is done today with humanity is free will. Those who will go to the higher planes of life and would be showing themselves spiritually capable of dealing with higher dimensions, etc., often referred to the fifth and sixth dimension, etc., and the quantum thinking, which is a spiritual ascension, etc., will start creating their environment accordingly. And those who want to stay in the third dimension or energy and still worship under Rome, etc., will have that right of that experience. However, as we talked about a year ago, Dr. Naila, when I mentioned that all masks are off,
yes,
that includes both Asiatics and Europeans and hybrid Europeans. Wherever your spirit is, your mask is off. And don't charge other people with your own dirt. Now, that's a fact. And don't think that our experiences are not necessarily groomed by ourselves, because you are creators and makers of your own condition also. Take responsibility. Stop trying to put your responsibilities on others. However, participate with others who are trying to help. In other words, don't try to bite the hands that are trying to feed you
or help you. Let me put this question out that Moors in America posted, and I asked them to repost. Please clear this up, Brother Taj. And at new channel, Root Words 1, a citizen is a member of a free jural, JURAL society.
Not necessarily, but continue.
Okay, let me go back. Okay, wait a minute. Where'd it go? Oh, man. Let me just post it up here. So, okay. Please clear this up. Okay. New channel, Root Words 1. A citizen is a member of a free jural society. That is from Black's Law Dictionary. Mm-hmm. And they're telling the other one that they're uneducated. But is that true?
That's true. Now, keep in mind, in the principle of civilization and constitutional enforcement, Keep in mind, it is the duty of the citizens, etc., in fundamental civics to enforce the constitutions and the treaties, etc. The
Okay,
question goes out, and with a statement: have the people who are presenting questions now and at other times, have they been doing that? Have they been enforcing the Constitution for the United States, etc., which provably and historically and factually come from Muslim law? Have they?
Yeah, I'm getting
Now, the experience has been that they have not. The record has shown that they have not. However, many of them want the benefit of that, don't they? Don't they?
right. I'm gonna right. I'm gonna go back to, this is the last time I'm gonna go to this, because I want Sade Renee L to say how you lied to her. First of all, I'm gonna ask you a question. Have you ever spoken personally to Sade Renee L with regard to the situation with her baby?
Not that I'm aware of immediately.
Right. So
I've talked to many thousands of people actually,
but about right. So I need her, because before she makes that kind of statement on this platform that you lied to her, she needs to qualify that, because she's putting stuff out here, and I'm like that far away from doing what I said I was going to do, and I don't want to do it. I know this platform, she uses it, to share her information, but I can't keep just dealing with that kind of energy. It's very negative. I want her to get her baby back, but I want her to stop lying. So I'm about that far away from. So I want to know how you lied.
I don't know what she's talking about.
Right, I know you don't, because I know you haven't spoken to her.
No.
Right, so Dr. G lied because it's incorrect. I lied. I've tried to help her. Sade, I'm about to block you, because I've always almost stopped letting anybody put any comments in, just because the comments always go south on this subject matter. I have not lied to you. I have tried to assist you. I personally know of others like Brother Lamont L, who you trashed on here, who has tried to help you. Okay, let me put it out there. I've seen you arguing with other people on this particular platform who said they've tried to help you, and then when it doesn't work out, now the people are no good or liars. You got to stop this. You absolutely have got to stop this. We got too much stuff going on, and I know it's important to you to get your baby back. I want you to get your baby back, but you're not going to use this platform to trash, myself, Grand Sheik, or others that are really on here to get to study and to improve. Now you need to say, if he lied to you, or if I lied to you, how did I lie to you? And when did he lie to you also? Because I know you haven't spoken to him. So please stop putting that information in. Or I'm serious. The next thing is, I'm just gonna block you. I'm putting it out there. I don't want to. Yeah, somebody saying don't block her, but this is too much. We can't get anything done dealing with this back and forth stuff. You saying so help you. There's a way to get help, but you don't get help by trashing everybody, saying that the Moors are no good, that none of the church was better to you than the Moors. Then go back to the church. Then I come from the church. I was a pastor. So if you think that you're going to get more help from the church, then that's where you should go. We want you to get your baby, but you're not going to use this platform to trash the good work that we're about. And I mean that. I absolutely mean that from the bottom of my heart, my sister. You're young enough to be my grandchild. I got grandchildren older than you. So I mean ill will, but I will not allow you one more session that I have to use this platform as your personal platform to stand up and to trash people who have not been able to help you. Not that they haven't wanted to, but have, for whatever reason, have not been able to help you. We're sending you love. We're sending you, some people have sent you finances, and you still being nasty. Come on now. And I mean that. It's all love, but I'm not going to allow you to do this. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about, okay, oh, I'm a bitch. You said block. Okay, all right. Now that I'm a bitch, guess what? You are no longer a part of this. You're gone. Let's continue. We're done with that. Done with that. Y'all gonna have to find her on her page And if she puts some nasty stuff out there about me, you all know what happened, because there's a problem. There's obviously a problem, and I've let it go on far too long. So she's blocked. Let's continue.
All right. Any other questions?
Let me see. Do you all have any? Yeah, she probably did want me to block her so she can have a scapegoat. But you all know I have taken and allowed the stuff that has been put on the chat for several months, and I was almost ready to stop so no one could put any comments, just so I would not have to single her out specifically. I've tried, but we're gonna move forward. You know what I mean? So if she says anything about me or Grand Chic on any of our other platforms, it's up to you all. Y'all either know us or you don't. We're not agents. We are about putting in the work to get the information. We are not saviors. I also invite you all, if you can, August 27th, since I'll just take a break for that. August 27th, we're having an up close and personal at the House of Reawakening Minds. First time we're coming together as a House of Reawakening Minds in almost a year and a half, with Grand Chic, myself, and a couple special guests. Excuse me. We want you to come, and we want to be able to talk about some things that we not necessarily want to do and we can't do in this venue. But we are inviting you to get your tickets. Tickets are limited. We probably have about 50 left. And if you want to come, I would suggest you get your ticket quick, because once we reach the number, the link will be disabled. But with that said, if you have any questions, the reason why, let me just say this, the reason why we came on earlier today, we had to change the schedule today because Grand Chic has another commitment that conflicted with our regular time. So rather than not have anything at all, we came on a little bit earlier in order to at least have, so they could have at least a 2-hour conversation. I had no idea it was going to go south like this, but unless she creates another ID and comes on, but I'll block that person too. Hopefully we'll be able to have a decent chat, and I wish her well. I hope she does get her baby back, and that's no lie. But I'm not going to sacrifice House of Reawakening Minds and this channel and this platform for that, with that attitude. So if you have any questions, please post them now. Grand Chic wants to at least respond to your questions. That bothers me, but we must go on. I mean, because I hated to do that, because I really have tried to assist that young lady, but I'd be darned if I'm going to deal with that psychotic crap any longer. Any questions? Let me see. Kempton Reynolds is asking, can you speak about the rise of the Moors? What do you want spoken about? I mean, one
of the things that everyone should look at first is recognize that that's a false flag. That's number one. Number two, all of you should read treaty and constitutional law and identify the parties, and identify, in fact, by either discovery or by fact, if they violated any constitutional or treaty laws. My presentment is that they violated no laws. What is the issue other than that's being a false flag with them trying to intimidate? Because every day, including wherever they were on our land, and keep in mind the private police are actually agents for the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, etc., and the United States Corporation. And when you look at any Supreme Court laws, it tells you that those persons of the so-called police are in fact not constitutional enforcements or constitutional officers, but they are actually private contractors for the United States Corporation and their services to the private corporation and not to the people. And the rise of the Moors are being attacked by foreign corporate operatives pretending that they violated law. And again, as far as them even blocking their sites, etc., is indicative of unum sanctum expurgatorius and prohibitorum operations. schism operations. Anyone, I would challenge anyone to prove that the Moors violated any treaty or constitutional laws, and I suggest that that is not the case.
Let me see. Let me get back up here.
And the fact, you know, the interesting thing too, Dr. Naila, is how quick many of our people, even our people who claim to be black, the first thing they did was attack the Moors for exercising a right that already belonged to them. The right to bear arms is not constitutional, that's a divine right. That's a natural right. And all constitutional rights that are stated in the Honesty Confederation for the Constitution for the United States does not give any right. It only acknowledges rights that already belong to the people. That's a fact. Therefore, they have a right to bear arms by nature, not by constitutional principle, by nature. The Constitution is only in place to verify that or to acknowledge that.
I'm just going to ask those of you who are asking questions, when you do ask a question, could you make it a complete question?
Be specific.
Be specific. Some of your questions are abstract. Like when you say, "What of Jamal and the rise?" That's, to me, that's not a. What do you want to know
You're
about
dealing
that?
with the principle, not
Right.
not with person.
Please give us complete question. But here's one. Who's asking? Aduke is asking. Biden trying to force mandated V's. What can we do?
That's part of. Keep in mind, you look at all the laws concerning medical, or what you would call principles of genocide. That's an act of genocide. They have no rightful authority to impose that on anyone. Period. By law. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few laws that even them saying that is actually a violation of national and international law. Do some research in those areas, because that's a subject in its own right. And keep in mind, when they're trying to impose those things, they're taking people as their private property, etc. This is another reason why you nationalize and act accordingly. Because the issue is also status and wardship, which we mentioned again just earlier.
Okay. Conscious Ether asks, can you speak about the white, gray, and black hope?
The white, gray, and black folk, these are simply nom de guerre terms that are used in social engineering, etc., and have nothing to do in reality with pedigree or genetics.
I guess the question might be, are there different entities? I've heard, I'm not sure if it's true, that there, the one we see, there's someone behind that one that's even higher.
Yeah, there's two things involved here.
Yeah.
Now, as far as off-worlders or in-worlders, that's nothing new here on this planet. So that's a fact. That's number one. And number two, when they're talking about the grays, they're talking about actually a broad species that come from small to large, and some of their agendas are benevolent, some are not. Some of them are actually biological robots. That's the real truth. Now, the deal of it is, one of the things that, as the hybrid Europeans have been being exposed by many, even among their own today, the old adage has been used, as you already know, even when a lot of the priesthood are now being exposed. It's the old game of the devil made me do it. I didn't take your bite, the devil did it type thing. But I say to you, if an octopus grabs your arm, look at that tentacle that's grabbing your arm, and if you want to remove it, consider cutting it off, and you'll worry about the head of the octopus later. In other words, if the IRS stole your property, if members of the Roman Curia operating for the Rothschilds, etc., through the Federal Reserve, etc., to defraud you, don't start looking at the grays. Start looking at the hybrids that are doing it. Start looking at the people that you called falsely government. In other words, don't start accusing the grays of anything that hybrid Europeans are doing to you. That's an excuse, and that's called projection. Doesn't mean whether or not graves exist. And keep in mind, in the rule, universal rule of contract and operation, principal and agent are one. So if an agent is doing something, they are responsible as the principal. So therefore, don't let the hybrids off by blaming things on the graves or anyone else.
Here's a question. Let's see. I just heard they have acknowledged the Indian Treaty and the Indian people are taking advantage of that right. Is this true?
First of all, you got to understand that Indian is a false paradigm, just like Negro is. If you want to talk about what is called Indians, they called us Indians. You may be talking about Anayanguia and many of the Moorish tribes here. But when you make reference to the Indian, that is just a cover up for Naga, and also for a lot of the Canaanite, Moabites, Hittites, from what you know as Sindh or Hindustan. And there's no such thing as India. That's another diversion.
But though there are those who are benefiting from that designation in the U.S. Right, because they're giving them they're giving them certain benefits and territorial rights. Absolutely.
Now, as an example, for those of you listening, do the research, and you'll see the term Native American was, I think that was in I forget the term, in the 70s, around 1970, that was another social term that they made up. And keep in mind, when you adopt the tags and the nom de guerre created by the hybrid Europeans, that's to bring you under false jurisdictions, to create schisms, to promise benefits that are never delivered. And as part of schism operations, keep that in mind. The arguments of, Indians and Native Americans, etc. These are terms made for schism operations. And do some research. Matter of fact, for some of you, just look up quickly, when did the term Native American originate and who originated? And you'll see that it's even some of the even hybrid Europeans that made these terms up to get benefits. These paradigms were created on the Bureau of Indian Affairs, created by hybrid Europeans to promise some of the Aboriginal or indigenous people benefits distinguished from others to create schism. But if you notice, from past to present, none of these things were of any what you call substantial or long-standing or really effective social political status paradigms. But they were all generally promises with giving cookies to people, if you get the point, to pacify them and to divide them from others.
Here's a question.
And so if they're not talking about Dravidians or Sindh or Hindustan, and they keep using the term Indian, know that you're being played. It's not to reject some of the things that have going on. It's not to do that. It's to put things in perspective and recognize schism operations when you see it.
Okay, here's a question from Aduke. How does the Cuban situation impact U.S.
What situation?
Cuban situation impact? I don't know whether it's
Cuba,
in us or U.S.
Cuba is Isabella. And keep in mind, almost all of the governments around the world have been infiltrated with Roman Curia members, which has much to do with the politics that are going on right now. And Cuba is no different, etc. Most of the people who have been ruling at Isabella, that deals with Castro, Raul, and this present guy that was run out, etc., are usually in one way or another connected to the Roman Curia operations for Unum Sanctum. That's a fact. That's not opinion, etc. So do some research and understand and comprehend that's still part of the conquest of the Maghreb. And so when you're talking about the Moroccan Empire, you're talking about North, Central, South America, including Mexico. So keep that in mind. So the attacks that are made just on us are not limited to us. They're limited from the north to the. They are including the north to the southlands, and Isabella is included. And Isabella is called Cuba, so know that Cuba is Isabella.
Here's a question from Tony Jones. What is Mr. T, because we know him as that, what is Mr. T doing behind the scenes after they stole the E from him?
See, remember, what really happened was, as many of you know who have been studying, keep in mind they overthrew the republic so they wouldn't have to honor the Constitution principle that come from honesty law, i.e. Muslim law, which Obama told you about when he went to Egypt or Egypt, etc. It is no secret. So understand that the principles of the Constitution for the United States is not hybrid European origin. It's actually American origin. It is actually the Aboriginal people here from which those principles are derived, bringing the hybrid Europeans into government. But keep in mind that the de facto paradigm of corporate operations, known as the United States Corporation Company, has been bankrupted several times, and they've reinstituted the operations still with the United States included in the title, whether it's all capital letters or mixed incorporated cases, etc. And that Donald Trump was actually requested by military to take that position. Certainly he would not put himself and his family at risk, but they're actually dealing in the background with the bankruptcy of the United States Corporation Company, and they have actually defaulted. And much of the debt is to the Manchurian families whose gold they've been using since 1954, and you will know them as Chinese or China, which is why they've been attacking China. And the real deal is Donald Trump is assigned to enforce the republic back to the restoration of the republic prior to 1861, etc., and the enforcement of the Constitution. Therefore, Donald Trump is representative of the republic, and the other person, Mr. B, is the CEO of the bankrupt corporation, which was fenced in located at Washington, D.C., etc., under receivership, which is again why they have the fence around, because you have to have military operations. And Mr. T's job is to negotiate with the nations of the earth, because the U.S. corporation is defunct, and they have defaulted on all debts and are essentially politically done. And so what they're trying to do is build up some kind of credibility to restore the republic that was overthrown in 1861 after the overthrow of the Lincoln administration. And keep in mind, you're looking at them arguing over our estate, which we've been telling you for years.
Okay, here's a question. Are you participating in the Moorish Imperial Restoration Caucus?
No, not directly, no.
Okay. Let me see. If there are any more questions.
Basically, that's what we've been doing for years, for 40 years. But you'll have a lot of active Moors on different fronts trying to restore the integrity of government and the integrity of civic operations with our people at large.
Let me see. Okay, here's the question. How are, no, maybe not clear. See if I can read this. How are there, I'm thinking it's the THERE. How are there aliens now? I thought solar system was a holographic projection of our bodies. What is going on? And I know they never went to the moon.
You can look at dimensions. So you can, when you're looking at dimensions, you're also looking at in a phrase that's called higher planes of life. And so you're still coming back to consciousness. And what many of the dark priesthood have been trying to do is suppress or to capture our free will to consciousness in order to what you will call recommit the forced servitude that has been disguised connotatively as slavery on the planet, and then reduce the population so they can control us. That's what's going on now. And the outsiders, or what you might call aliens, the aliens have actually been governing. And it's not necessarily the Greys, as you've been told, but actually been persons who claiming to be JEWs and are not, like you see in the Bible, i.e. the synagogue of Satan.
Yes.
So remember, the Greys, just like the devil game, has been used as a scapegoat for actually Khazarian operators of the Roman Curia who are claiming to be JEWs and are not. That's described in the Bible, particularly by Yeshua, who you call Jesus, when you talk about those who claim to be somebody that they're not. They're claiming to be the people with hair like lamb's wool, skin like burnished brass, but they are not. They're claiming to be Sabians because they took over in the mid-1800s, and they've been claiming to be Saba or claiming to be JEW and are not, but are of their father, the devil, i.e. synagogue of Satan. That's who's been governing here. So, let's not try to put it all on the Greys. Start looking at who's really been doing the injury to humanity.
Trying to see if there are any other questions. I want to keep in mind, let me throw this up here again, because I am in the mood to block people who are disrespectful. So I just want y'all to know that. Let me see if there's another question.
And also suggest everyone do your own research. And like what we've often said, Dr. Naila, if anyone can disagree, prove what I've said is a lie. And do your own research. Take responsibility. Have we not ever said that? Haven't we always told people to take their responsibility? And we give them reference points so they could do research. And we also tell people, you don't have to agree. It's not about agreement. It's about solving problems. Prove what I said to be a lie. And in the process, you'll learn.
I just blocked somebody because they were, they saying that you were on that QBS. But we get a lot.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter when you're trying to prove anything to anyone.
Yeah, folks need to get their head out and saying when it comes to what's really going on. So we just hope.
That's on a low level what's going on politically.
Right.
And it affects us because they're controlling our state. I don't know if you know this, but this question asks you any recommendation on eliminating jumpers. I'm not sure if they're asking about quantum jumpers. Ask for it's going all over the place. Eliminating jumpers. Okay. I'm not sure. I can answer it in another way.
Okay.
Most of you are and that's all of us really, are being held in nature to start thinking quantumly.
Yes.
And to come above and out of the third dimensional energy, which is why we've always said to you over the years that some of the things that we're doing today, and that's past tense, including what I talked about in this lecture 203 that I read from around the corner 18 years ago. It is because we must start to exercise the mind to prepare for the changes that are and will be taking place. And it will be by the will and the free will of all to either move on and let some of these things go or not. So whosoever will, let him come. Whosoever will, let him hear. But you will not be putting your responsibilities on others. There will be no more sacrificial Jesuses if that's what you've been trained in. Get over it, dump it, and start growing. And that's the truth. And so we're all held to the responsibility of actually using our free will and start creating our own condition, etc. So my position would be to get people thinking together, thinking again, so that we can stay on a high vibrational level and actually evolve for that which is good. And for those who want to stay negative, they will be tied to the third dimensional energy. That's their choice to do. For those who want to move on, then you have to start thinking quantumly, and you cannot hold others responsible for your thoughts. For your thoughts, your moral and ethical compass is your thoughts, and it is your choice to adhere to them or not. And the results or the rewards are your own. Whatever you sow, so shall you reap.
His question, Justin James, could you please ask Grand Sheik, with all this going on, the V controversy, the planetary shifts going on,
That's a diversion.
How is the Galactic Federation involved behind the scenes?
It's always been that way. And if you notice over the years, like I've always said, Dr. I usually don't go there, although I'm aware of a lot of those things, because
I'm there a lot.
People have a tendency to stop taking responsibility for the now, the present, the self, and keep looking to the outside. And this is why I don't go there, because the strength is actually in yourself. And many of those who've been wanting to conquer you, and many of those who have conquered you thus far, has depended on you keep looking out, for outside gods. Most of the God principles or the God sellers that have been given to you are actually what you would call daemons or lesser gods who have claimed to create you, and they actually have not. They have tampered with you, yes.
Absolutely.
But they have not been your creator. Now, so the deal of is what is within you and in your DNA and in your consciousness is what's left of you in your reality, in your real true form. And that is the divine. Adhere to that, and their successes will be checked.
And may I add this to the questioner? When asked about what the Galactic Federation is doing behind the scenes, how are they involved? One of the things I know for a fact is that in most cases they observe and do not get involved unless we ask for their assistance, and we're being so distracted that we're not connected to that. We don't know how to reconnect with our galactic brotherhood.
People for years, Dr. Naila. Remember the rules here at Midgard. For the most part, they do not interfere unless we request.
And we are being so distracted, we don't even believe it is something we should be doing.
For lessons, and you agreed to be here, most of them. Now, there are a few that by circumstance of interference are not necessarily here by their own will, or at least on the immediate surface, etc. However, as a general rule, all of the beings, all the energies here that have manifested in the third dimensional plane are here because to be fixed, etc., to learn lessons, and some are here to observe. And this goes back to what we taught, 25 years ago or so about the monad and nomad, that concept. Well, that concept is a reality of the spiritual or experience of the spirit man in human flesh. And so the divine beings manifest in human flesh, etc., concept must be looked at, and also we must take responsibility and stop looking for our idol gods outside of ourselves. And I'm suggesting that would be the most successful way for us to achieve what you call the ascensions that people are actually seeking.
And I believe that what's going on with the V's is
Present
another
diversion.
is it not only is it a diversion, it's another attempt to further nullify the ability to ascend.
Now, keep in mind, if you, for those of you who do some research, keep in mind what they've been doing since the 40s, 1940s, is that they've been actually dealing with metal particles and nano technology in those V's, or interfering with the crystal stream, because they've been doing experiments with mice and rats for years to create hunger, to turn it off and on, etc. This is again how they've created much of the sicknesses and the stress and the diabetes among the people by actually by the flipping of a switch, actually making people think that they're hungry when they're not, in order to make them sick, then giving them foods that are modified that have no nutritional value, and so the people will overeat, trying to give themselves food and energy that they need, but they never get. And this is again why many people who don't understand the war operations of the psychic attack don't recognize why so many people, particularly in North America, distinguished from the rest of the world, so many of us are overweight by virtue of actually attack through other V's that were given to you actually earlier. And also know this too, that autism that they put in the children, etc., is reversible. A lot of people don't know that. They don't want you to know that either. So if we're going to get into some of these things, I just want to throw that out there.
August 27th, we'll be able to talk about a lot of things on August 27th. Absolutely.
But keep in mind, we're under attack. And it's like this. Use your common sense. If someone is lying or misrepresenting, why would they block you? Why would they shut down sites? Why don't they allow the people who are exposing certain truths make fools of themselves? The real deal is that indexus librorum expurgatorius and indexus librorum prohibitorum are still in effect. That's commonly known universally as the Great Christian Book Learnings. It hasn't changed, it just has different names. So now they talk about demonetizing people's accounts, their sites or communication sites on social media. Their operations did not change, they just have different names. And so all of us must be working toward cognizance and consciousness to reject the schism operations that are going on multiple levels. And if you start focusing on not blaming the Greys for what the hybrid Europeans are doing, and blaming on the Greys to divert your attention from them, I think would be more effective in changing these conditions. And the other thing is, stop calling these people who are claiming to be constitutional officers, stop calling them officers, because they're not. There are no constitutional officers operating at North America as we speak. They are all de facto. I don't care what name they take. That's a fact. So observe them and watch them battle, because keep in mind, those who would honor a treaty and constitution would have been doing that quite some time ago. But now that they're battling over this estate, since nations of the world, and remember, we've been telling you all for the last 7 years that the nations are going to stop buying U.S. Treasury bonds, and that you're going to have a feedback loop. If you all go back and to some of our lessons here or lectures at We're Awakening Minds, we've been telling you this for the last 7 years to give some of you some insight to start preparing yourselves for what was to come. What you're seeing, it is already at hand, and some of this politics are what we told you about actually years ago.
Here's a question. Asia Andrea Bay says, please ask Brother Taj if he has been getting any dreams he wants to share about what's coming.
Well, I've been doing that for quite some years. I'm doing mostly what I'm doing now, to be honest with you, is observing. To be absolutely honest with you. Because you know, I think last year I started telling you that on mask are off. What I was actually saying is pretty much people, wherever they are spiritually, wherever their heart commitment is, that's where they are. And it's sort of like if you're talking about a storm or something coming, it is for the point of aiding people who are willing to use their intuitive mind to see things and to prepare themselves and people they love and their families to survive the turmoil that's being put upon us. But when you're already in the storm, it's like saying, I'm not necessarily inspired to talk about getting an umbrella when the storm is already here. So for the most part, I've been pretty much observing. And actually, if you pay attention to sometimes in this last year or so, me being redundant and getting bored is because I've already told you years ago, to be honest with you. Now, as far as other insights that you might say, some things I have not spoken because many in the dark priesthood are active trying to hurt people. And if you say certain things now, they will attack others. One of the things that I've recognized over the years with the hybrid Europeans, if they find someone who's spiritually strong that they have not been able to hurt, they'll hurt people around it. So some things I don't say deliberately for that purpose. However, so many things are actually ongoing right now to their negative. I'm kind of observing them trying to block and trying to destroy, and actually divine nature turning their own traps on themselves. So I'm doing a lot more observation now and not necessarily trying to project, not that I can't, because I don't want to also distract people from paying attention to what's already going on and taking responsibility. Because one of the things, and if you see a lot of even some things that we discuss with each other now, people, many of the people are still in that psychology of looking for a sacrificial lamb, which must that psychology must leave. There's another reason why some things that I see that I don't talk about, because even with some of the statements that were made earlier, where people try to make people take this position of savior, etc., and whether they're qualified to save them type thing, and that whole concept is corrupt and wrong. If it's anything, I unconditionally reject that whole concept. But I do promote self-responsibility. And as we talked about, a moon ago, respect the intuitive mind, because much of what you ask is already with you. And particularly now in this placement. In this cycle placement, most of what you ask for, you could answer it yourself. But again, because we know that some people are still groggy and not awakened to a degree that they need be, is why we continue to do what we do.
There is a principle that's not only in the Bible, even though we know that comes from a whole lot of other texts of other literature, but also when they talk about the law of attraction and so forth. And it's simply this: ask and it shall be given. Knock and the door shall be open unto you. So a lot of things we don't have because we don't ask and we don't think that we're gonna get it, and we're always looking, like you said, we have that savior complex. It's always got to be something.
Get rid of.
Absolutely, got to know that it's within you.
The devil is in you, and the God is in you. This is why, like, if a lot of people will study Professor Drew's philosophies, a lot of the keys were already given, and a lot of people will repeat them. But we do recognize that people have not necessarily looked into the simple